Rundown is brought to you by Commonwealth Brewery Limited.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the show. It's great to have you all with us for yet another week, a great week ahead, as we discuss things that are pertinent and important to our country. But first, we begin tonight with news from our southern neighbors. Now, the countdown is on for the Turks and Caicos Islands general election, and Premier Charles Washington Mystic is making his case for re-election. Confident in his administration's track record, he believes the Progressive National Party will secure another term on this Friday. Elections are this Friday, February 7th in the Turks and Caicos. Now, Northern Service News anchor Ramiko Knowles is in the Turks and Caicos for us all week covering the elections. He sat down with the Premier for an exclusive interview where he reflected on his accomplishments during the past 4 years in office. Here's that story.
Why should the voters of Turks and Caicos Island give you a second term?
Well, for one, I have a strong record as an individual in politics and the leadership in this country, and the Progressive National Party, in the 49 years since ministerial government has been introduced, have a track record of building institutions, providing safety nets, and supporting the voters of this country. And so we have a strong record to run on, while the other side are just running on rhetoric. Every institution that has been built in this country for the last 50 years has been built by the Progressive National Party, whether it's schools, hospitals, clinics, you name it. We believe in building institutions because they outlast lives. Like Shakespeare says, you come on, you have an entry and you have an exit. Institutions last forever. And we either build them, reform them, or strengthen them.
You talked about a number of the things you were able to deliver on. Is there any specific things you're looking forward to delivering during this term, if elected?
Basically, my focus has always been, and that's the basis of our contract with the people, has always been triple bottom line sustainability. That's the economy, the social, and the social structure, and the social system within the TCI, but importantly, also the environment, because that everyone in this country makes their money from the natural capital, the environment.
Getting to immigration and safety and concerns from some of the residents here on Turks and Caicos Island, crime is a major one for many of them. Opposition members seem to think that the PNP does not have the answer and that they have the plan for it. What is your response to the crime on this island and the importation of illegal firearms?
Well, first of all, if the opposition has a plan, where is it? Have you seen it? Have they published it anywhere? They don't have a plan. They have absolutely no plan. We have a plan. We've been working that plan. We've been resourcing the police. We've given them everything they asked for. We'll continue. I can list some of the tools and equipment and resources that we've given. Mobile police station, armored vehicles. We've introduced something like 12 or 13 new pieces of legislation to give the police more power of arrest, to give them more power and to deal with guns and gangs, increase prison terms for violent crimes, particularly the use of firearms. We have identified, put in additional radars to protect our borders in order to reduce the immigration, the illegal immigration coming into the country. Right? We have purchased land for additional, to build new detention centers. I have made a commitment to the people of this country that my government will break the back of crime, and I don't care what it costs, right? Because the safety of my people, the safety of our communities, the safety of our tourism industry depends on us breaking the back of crime. And in the short term, we'll be investing a lot of money on detection and punishment, but in the longer term, we will have to invest a lot of money into prevention, including rehabilitation. We have a program, we'll be introducing a program for youth, a youth service program. People of these islands are smart, right? They know the difference between rhetoric and racket. They know the difference between pie in the sky, unachievable, unrealistic promises, and what could be delivered. We've kept the economy strong. We've kept free of debt. We've provided social services to our people. Every person over 70 in this country, even if they have never worked a day in their life, even if they have never, if they have no pension, had no pension before, they're now getting $1,000 a month as a minimum. We've grown the social security benefits to indigents, to orphans, to old people, and we've provided for short-term pensions or support to people who are furloughed during the seasons, tourism breaks in the seasons, for short periods of time, up to 8 weeks. We're focused on people, because at the end of the day, that is what matters.
All right, our Rumiko knows there, and of course we can expect Rumiko to be speaking with the opposition leader tomorrow, so we hear both sides vying to become the next leader of the Turks and Caicos Islands. And just for some background information, this year's Turks and Caicos Islands elections will see significant constitutional changes and will be the first general election of which 9 at-large MPs will be elected. That's according to, of course, Wikipedia. Now, TCI's House of Assembly was renamed as the Parliament of the Turks and Caicos Islands this past December, alongside a term increased to a maximum of 5 years, so they'll join us in 5-year terms. The electoral system was also modified, and of course, that's modified so that some 19 instead of 15 members will be elected to Parliament, with 4 formally appointed seats becoming at-large constituency seats. Now, the constitutional amendments were unanimously adopted by the House of Assembly and afterwards authorized by the government of the United Kingdom in late 2024. Remember, there's still a colony of the UK, so the UK has to still approve these things legislatively. Now, the Turks and Caicos is a 2-party system between the People's Democratic Movement, led by Edwin Aswood, and the governing Progressive National Party, led by Charles Washington Missick. Now, according to the TCI Sun newspaper online, Turks and Caicos Islands is set to usher in a new era of voting with the cutting-edge DS-200 electronic voting machine, marking a transition from the traditional paper-based ballot to a more modern, secure, and efficient system. Way to go, TCI. You're ahead of us. We encourage you to stay tuned, of course, to the ZNS Network all week for the latest on the Turks and Caicos Islands elections. We are there with a team on the ground. We will be covering them and also bringing those returns to you live on Friday. So you want to stay with one network. We have you covered throughout the region, here not only in the Bahamas, but also in the Turks and Caicos Islands. Now, back here at home, it's not for us to discuss an election campaign just yet. However, tonight we're talking about something equally important. It's called education. The Ministry of Education, Technical and Vocational Training's vision statement makes it clear, providing all persons in the Bahamas with an opportunity to receive a quality education that will equip them with the necessary beliefs, knowledge, attitudes, and skills required for life, both in a democratic society guided by Christian values and in an interdependent, changing world. Now, tonight, the Director of Education joins us live right here at this desk, and we're going to have an interesting discussion about public school education. A lot of the questions that have raised come up, particularly in this particular school year. We're going to have a candid discussion with this. Should be right here after the break. You're watching The Rundown. We're back right here on the ZNS Network after this. Stay close.
Mailboat service is a critical service to the islands of the Bahamas. Certainly, Andrews has always been there and dear to us. That's where we're born and raised. And so we play a crucial role in advancing the growth and development of Andrews. Customers want service and they want consistency. From the start, that's been our commitment. We work to sail on time every time. Our customers have come now to expect this from us. And one of the biggest challenges we've had was finding adequate funding. SPDC from the very start has been a lifesaver. My advice to young people, if you have a vision, a passion, an idea, go for it. Don't give up. It's not easy. If it was, everybody would be doing it. Be consistent and you'll get there.
You've set big goals for your future, and we can help you to achieve them. Getting that degree you've always wanted, buying your first car, making it official on a truly special day, or building a home that's your own. Big or small, share your ambitions with us, and we can help make them real.
We're here at the Nassau Village Community Center project, where over the past 17 months, we've hired over 20 Bahamian subcontractors to bring this beautiful project to fruition.
I've been living in Nassau Village for more than 19 years, and to see a project like this brings great joy and pride to me.
This state-of-the-art multi-purpose community center will serve as a crime-fighting initiative in the community. Also help with the education of our kids in this community and a hurricane shelter.
Yeah, and it also shows what we as Bahamians can achieve when we work hand in hand with each other.
We have the technical know-how, and we can pretty much deliver on any project here in the Bahamas or in the world.
Bahamas Pipe and the Bahamian Company, they prove that they believe in Bahamians.
Based on the outcome of this project, I don't think they're disappointed in giving a small person an opportunity to do a job such as this.
The more opportunity they get, the more opportunity we will get.
If you look around and see the work done so far, it just shows what we as Bahamians can do.
Welcome back to The Rundown. A special good night to all of you who are watching online. Those of you in the line saying, I see you, you're here. I see some of your comments about the Turks election. It should be interesting. And then, of course, those of you watching on YouTube, always great to have you as well. And then those watching through via various networks, cable network or PGC Flow, always a pleasure. We appreciate you being a part. Well, she's no stranger to education. Having been a teacher for over 30 years, Dominique McCartney Russell has served on the islands of Abaco, Andros, Grand Bahama, and here to Providence. Before being appointed as Director of Education, she served as District Superintendent of the Abaco District from 2017 to 2022. Now, McCartney Russell has led the Abaco District schools through the COVID-19 pandemic and Hurricane Dorian. She's worked on strategies to increase school attendance, including the Find Every Child Task Force initiative, walkabouts, and attendance officers. Director McCartney Russell joins us tonight on The Rundown. Director, it's a pleasure to have you here. Welcome.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Well, you know, I was reading something in your bio just, and I thought, you know, this might be a good place to start in that you worked on projects to try and improve school attendance. How are we now? I know from the time we had COVID and there was a fall off, there's been this thrust by the Minister of Education to get people back in schools. Are we back where we ought to be pre-pandemic levels?
We are. During the pandemic, for example, we had like 54% attendance on our virtual platform.
54?
54%, so you can imagine. But right now we're at 92% consistently.
Oh, that's great.
Yes, it is. Although we are aiming for 100%, Clint.
Well, where's the 8%? What are they doing?
They are chronically absent. We consider any child who's been absent for more than 2 days without receiving a note from home or some medical certificate, we consider them chronically absent. Because if a child is absent 18 days, that's 10% of their educational opportunities missed. And so it's important for us to ensure children have access to opportunities.
What are you finding out why they're home? Is it because they're sick? Is it because no one's there to get them ready for school? Is it because they just can't go, or problems at home?
Well, actually, it's a plethora of reasons. Some of it is just the fact that their basic needs are not being met, the need for uniforms. There may be some issues with their registration forms. They may not have all of the documentation. And so it's really a lot of different issues. Some children are taking care of their siblings.
Really?
Yes, they are.
We have children who are staying home from school to take care of their siblings.
Yes, they are. Yep. We have actually had officers, because of our hotline, community members would call in and they have discovered a number of children in a home, and you know, the oldest is taking care of the younger children, and so we have to provide support services for our parents. And of course, instill in them the importance of education and the need for children to participate in those opportunities.
I was going to ask, is there some, what could you do legally? I mean, is it against the law? Is it, or you're just going to encourage the parent? Well, I mean, what can you do legally?
Well, the Education Act says that children must be in school from 5 to 16.
So it's a requirement?
It is a requirement, and parents are required to register their children. And so we use a lot of moral suasion because, you know, we want to help parents. Sometimes they have conflicting priorities. They may work, you know, very early or work 2 jobs, and so we, with our partners like social services, we support parents. We remove the barriers so that children have access.
It's a valid point you make, and I think I'm glad to interject this here, because sometimes it's not always all negative, because you may say, oh, that's a bad parent, your child ain't in school, you should know better. But then you just raised a valid point. If you work at 6 o'clock in the morning shift, and you got to get up to be to work for 6 o'clock, the kids are probably still in bed. And there's nobody home to make sure they get up, get ready, put on their clothes, do the basic hygiene requirements, get breakfast. Well, thank goodness for breakfast in schools program, and then get them to school.
And sometimes they may not have a responsible relative, and sometimes it's out of fear as well. You know, they don't trust people.
Right.
And so, you know, we try to support parents through our partners like social services, urban renewal, and then of course we have other strategic partners who assist with uniforms, with breakfast, and all of those support services that children may need.
Let's talk a little bit about this particular school year. Is there a particular focus that you're trying to put into the school year, this curriculum?
Well, to be quite honest with you, our focus is providing access, number one, because we are an archipelagic nation, but also providing high-quality opportunities for our children and providing holistic education, because we know children are not just physical beings, but emotional and social, and ensuring that they are globally competitive. They're able to excel wherever they go in the world.
Are we now then considering our curriculum that it's not just based on academics? So we find that our kids, they may be gifted in other areas and are not what I call the traditional traditional subjects, the math, the English, and so forth, but they have technical skills and vocational skills. Are we now building a curriculum that encompasses all skills that our kids may have and not just the academics?
Well, the saying now is that skills are the new currency. And so our focus is on performance-based, project-based learning, because students need more experiential opportunities. The curriculum must be relevant, it must be rigorous, and it must meet the needs of the clientele. And we have a very diverse clientele. They all learn differently. And one of the things that our practitioners in the classroom do in the first instance is to identify how do children learn. And we don't ask the question, are children smart, but how are they smart? And so we want to provide differentiated instruction, which means that we must include in that more hands-on opportunities with real-world examples and applications. And so we're focused on curriculum reform, you are correct, providing more cluster technical opportunities for children even at the primary school level. And so we consider all of our subjects academic, whether it's applied, you know, and so we want, at the end of the day, whatever that child is interested in, they have an opportunity to participate in.
Let's talk about the Family Violence, because a lot of people should be aware that we have to literally duplicate because of our archipelago in the education system on every island. And regardless of how much people on the island, you still got to provide a school.
Yes, sir.
You know, you may have 30 children, but you still got to provide a school and then still provide teachers. How are we balancing the challenges we've had in being able to find teachers to go to these islands to provide certain specialty subjects and to ensure that those children are not without? Are we using technology to perhaps link them to teachers in Nassau, or are we just eliminating those subjects, or are we able to find teachers to actually fill these vacancies on the islands?
We're actually focused on providing quality teachers in all of our districts. And so, yes, we do focus on the core curricula, but we have hired over 40 technical and vocational teachers, so we have teachers all the way in Acklands providing support for our children.
Wow.
Special education.
Really?
Yes, sir. Spanish. We're providing a holistic education for our children. And where the opportunities are lacking, we do have the virtual platform. We use augmented reality and virtual reality to provide support for those students who may need that extra support because we don't have the physical body in the space. But for the most part, we have really been increasing our special, I would call them specialty teachers. Yep, in all of our districts.
Do we still have vacancies on Family Islands?
We do. We have vacancies not just on the Family Islands, but mathematics is a concern for us, physical education, performing arts. While we have 142 music teachers, we only have 5 dance teachers. And so we're seeking to increase our performing arts teachers. We're actually in talks with the University of the Bahamas so that there could be a development of at least an associate's, a bachelor's degree in performing arts, because as we've indicated, our children are, you know, more than physical beings.
And we're developing the orange economy,
yes,
which is going to need people.
Yes, sir. And Bahamians are very artistic. You know, we need to tap into the creative aspects of who our children are, not just because of their self-expression, but because of what it does for their cognition as well.
I want to go back to where I started, and we're talking about the school attendance. Do we still now have truancy officers back in the schools, and how are they impacting the numbers?
We hired, I think, a little bit over 16 officers in 2021, and we would have placed them into various schools in 2023. In schools where we saw the need, we wanted them to be really close to the issue, and so they actually serve with the guidance counselors. The teachers would identify students who have missed school for more than two days, and they would actually do home visits with the attendance officers, and the goal is to remove the barriers. If there is a barrier, remove it so that that child can get in school and receive an education.
I want to just divert a bit from our public school system, because you also have oversight for the private systems as well, and NACOB obviously is the accreditation of these schools. And we've been hearing about schools popping up around the capital. How are you addressing that through NACOB?
Well, NACOB, you know, is our regulatory body that governs all of those schools. We actually rely on the community to, you know, let us know when these schools pop up, because sometimes they pop up in someone's home, and then you know, the traffic jam through your neighborhood, and so people actually call in. And once they call in, because NACOB can't be everywhere, but once they call in, NACOB will send their inspectors, you know, to see what's in the environment, the infrastructure, the curriculum, the quality of the teachers in terms of training. And so we have some wonderful people on that NACOB Council who do justice for the children of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And so we say to the community at large, if you see something, say something, so that we could monitor and evaluate those institutions.
I know there's a recent outbreak of a flu in Cat Island, where a large number of kids had to go home. Has that matter been resolved yet?
Yes, in fact, we had, I think it was about 48 children a little under 40 children were, sent home as a result of the symptoms. And of course, we would have had to speak to parents, let them stay home if they're not well because they infect other people. Some teachers were affected as well. So we still have a few students who are at home as a result of the doctor's orders, so that they are convalescing, and once they are well, they will be back in school. But while they are home, they have access to the virtual platform. We made sure that the continuity of educational opportunities would not be missing.
It's all about the National School Breakfast Program. Is that still making the impact it was intended to?
Listen, that is a wonderful program. We have served over 421,000 breakfasts to over 11,000 children in 88 schools. We've seen attendance improve by 3.3%. We've seen socialization skills develop, more conversations at the table because they're sitting together. And we've certainly seen tardiness improve, although tardiness is still a problem for us. But at those schools where breakfast is being served, those children are there early. And it provides support for our parents. So the cost of living for parents has decreased as a result of them not having to fix breakfast for their children.
That's some good stuff. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk about the quality of teachers in the profession. Is it still there? Are we losing it? I know you're going to turn up the TV now, but it's a reality we need to discuss. We'll talk about that and some other matters when we come back. You're watching The Rundown. We're back after this. Stay close.
Since a young girl, I always loved watching the women come in and get their hair done and commune together with everybody. I grew a great appreciation for that. I always had a great love for making women feel beautiful and just the atmosphere of a beauty salon. Hi, my name is Asia Cartwright, and I'm a hairstylist at the Glow Bar in Old Fort Bay. I enjoyed accounting. I did it professionally for a few years. After the pandemic, I decided to take a leap of faith, go off to school in Atlanta at Aveda Institute to learn the science behind hair, because I realized this is my passion. This is something that I really wanted to do, but I wanted to understand the real depth of, okay, why does hair do this? Why is it responding this way? What do I need to do to help someone get on their best hair journeys? It's not been easy. When it's fueled by passion, you always have an extra push and motivation to just try harder. It's being fueled from your heart space. I enjoy making women feel beautiful. I enjoy being a listening ear. It's more than hair, it's like therapy. We all leaving lighter. For women that are, facing some type of fear, that want to change their path and careers, I would say do it. I trusted God because I don't feel like he would have given me the vision and the dreams if it wasn't for me. It doesn't matter what no one says. It doesn't matter, how it looks from the outside. And I'm going to give it my all, and that's what I do.
To learn more about the Women Entrepreneurs Initiative, visit our website or contact us at 461-7232. And remember, empowered women empower women.
Is the Little Caesars Stuffed Crust Pizza. Get more pizza for less money. Only $12. It's a whole new level of pizza with cheese stuffed crust so spectacular that there's nothing left.
Pizza.
A delicious pepperoni pizza with the crust stuffed with lots of cheese and brushed with butter and garlic flavor and sprinkled with Parmesan cheese. Hot and ready Thursday to Saturday between 4 and 8 for only $12. Simply irresistible. And only at Little Caesars.
Pizza.
We're here at the Nassau Village Community Center project, where over the past 17 months, we've hired over 20 Bahamian subcontractors to bring this beautiful project to fruition.
I've been living in Nassau Village for more than 19 years, and to see a project like this bring great joy and pride to me.
This state-of-the-art multi-purpose community center will serve as a crime-fighting initiative in the community. Also help with the education of our kids in this community and a hurricane shelter.
Yeah, and it also shows what we as Bahamians can achieve when we work hand in hand with each other.
We have the technical know-how, and we can pretty much deliver on any project here in the Bahamas or in the world.
Bahamas Stripe and the Bahamian Company, they prove that they believe in Bahamians.
Based on the outcome of this project, I don't think they're disappointed in giving a small person an opportunity to do a job such as this.
The more opportunity they get, the more opportunity we will get.
If you look around and see the work done so far, it just shows what we as Bahamians can do.
Welcome back to The Rundown. My guest tonight is the Director of Education, Dominic McCartney-Russell, and we're having an interesting discussion about the education system. This is important for you to listen and learn, right? Because as a people, we become so overreactive and so emotional with matters because we don't understand. You don't have the knowledge. And these shows, segments are designed to give you understanding, to give you information so that you can act accordingly. We live in an era and in a time where social media has done so much harm, more harm than good sometimes, because misinformation is what we run on, and we don't understand how things actually work. And so we excite people falsely because we don't have the facts. And so we like to give people facts so that you can understand what's happening in your educational system, because your child is a part of it. Whether they're in a public school, whether they're in private school, whether they're homeschooled, they still fall under the Ministry of Education, Science, Technology, and Training. And it's important for you to understand the policies, how things work. All right, so having said that, quality of education, Director, is it where it used to be, and is it where it ought to be?
In some cases it is, and in some it isn't. And what I mean by that is when we receive our teachers from the university, once they've graduated, you may have a teacher who would have, who is proficient. I mean, they come out ready, you know, and then you have those who are emergent. And so we have to provide professional development for them. So we have from the emergent to the proficient. And once they get in the classroom, because, you know, when you do your practicum, it's a 10-week practicum, you know, and you're in the classroom, but it's not like the real world.
Yeah.
And so we provide mentorship for those emergent teachers. And of course, we, you know, allow those proficient ones to just run with their programs, because education is a science, but it's also an art. And sometimes we get the science down pat, we have the content, but the delivery may be the issue. And so we train our teachers, but we provide them with mentors, because those persons, they have experience with teaching a lot of children, you know, and so we provide the opportunities for professional development. We allow them to have access to expertise, collaborative expertise, we call it. So they get exposed to teachers. They actually sit in a classroom, see what the expert teacher, the proficient teacher does, and of course they get to emulate. And so yes, we do have very excellent teachers who produce very quality or excellent students, and we have those teachers that we have to provide support for.
Do you only hire from the university, or can other persons who get teaching degrees apply to education as well?
We do have other strategic partners in the, New Providence, but mainly from the University of the Bahamas. We have also gone, we have a memorandum of understanding with Cuba, and so we have some special educators from Cuba. We have technical teachers from Cuba, and so we have a recruitment committee, and they are responsible for bringing in the applications, interviewing the officers, and of course, based on our needs, providing those teachers for those schools.
So if somebody goes off to college and gets a degree in teaching, they can still apply to the Ministry of Education for a job, not have to only come from UB?
No, they can apply.
Let's talk about the kind of teacher. Do we still have teachers that, I guess the answer is yes, but I want to hear if, because, you know, you always hear people talk about, oh, my teacher in primary school, they really nurtured me, they spent time after school, and it seemed as though as we modernized, that kind of teacher seemed to have either retired or quit because they got tired and drained, or phased out, and so we now have teachers who just say, listen, man, I have the degree in teaching, there's a job, at 3 o'clock, I'm done. Are you struggling with that, or do we still have teachers with heart?
We still have teachers who stay after school. In fact, I visited a number of teachers on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. They are providing opportunities for our children. Early morning, they're providing lunchtime classes. I've been to a district where they had what they called GLAT attack, and they had all of their 6th graders in one school, and teachers were there teaching. We have a lot of teachers. They are not just providing quality opportunities. They're providing breakfast. They're providing uniforms. They are providing haircuts and plaiting of hair. We call teachers the profession of professions. They are the counselors, they're the doctors, they're the nurses. They're providing. We still have those teachers who care about children.
Wow.
We really do. We may have a handful who may have some issues. You know, I'm leaving at 3:15, but by and large, the vast majority of our team members are people who go beyond the call of duty. I say they go the second mile.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome to hear. Let's talk a bit about the curriculum and so forth. John Canoe was said to be introduced into the curriculum. Did that happen, and how is that working out?
It was so wonderful, Clint. It was wonderful. I visited a few schools, and what we did is really the teacher could teach the content, just use John Canoe in some way. For example, I visited a school, Gaventines, and they were teaching the pre-primary the letter N. And so the students learned how to sound it, they learned how to write it, and then they got to paste it. They used, you know, newspaper, but they got to paste it. And so we asked our teachers to infuse John Canoe within the curriculum. So if, for example, in PE, students have to warm up, instead of just doing the warm-up exercises, they're doing the John Canoe dances to warm up.
So it's not really a course, it's just infusing it into our culture, into the education system.
That's all it is.
Being creative, finding out a way that you can get John Canoe into it.
Yes, and so they got to visit shacks. We had some of the, you know, senior groups come and visit them. They got to learn how to paste, and so it was a total infusion in all aspects of the curriculum. And then, of course, at the end of January, they had this culminating activity. Of course, some of them participated in Junior John Canoe, and I feel this year
it went to a whole different level.
A whole different level this year. It was fantastic.
That's exciting to hear. Now, are you satisfied with the way the curriculum is set? Are there any things you want to see change to the curriculum? I know we've infused John Canoe, but any changes you project that need to happen in the education system?
Well, we're doing it right now. We're reforming the curriculum. As I indicated, we have to provide more experiential opportunities for students. You know, we want to wow the clients. When they come to school, we want them to love school, and we want them to stay in school. It means that we have to engage them. And so we have to provide opportunities that are engaging. And so our officers are reforming the curriculum. You will notice we have pools coming in schools.
Yeah?
Yes,
yeah,
sir. We're excited about that.
Yeah.
We have the Polytechnic that's being built right as we speak, and the idea is to provide those technical subjects for our students in applied sciences. And so we're really seeking to up the ante in terms of providing hands-on training. We've proven that that is what works, particularly for our children who are kinesthetic learners or who are visual learners. We want to give them experiences because we believe experiences provide meaning, and meaning will promote knowledge and transfer of training.
What advice would you give to parents as far as if you want to make sure your child is successful in the education experience, what role do parents need to play?
Well, the research seminal studies have shown that besides the teacher has the greatest effect size on student learning, and then, of course, school leadership, and parents are number 3.
Wow.
You know, the parent is the first teacher, and so our expectation and my advice to parents is to get involved. Participate, number 1, in PTA, attend all of the PTA meetings, sign the homework. Even if you don't know what they're doing, just sign it to say you've seen it, you know, they are writing properly, you know, sign the homework. And then thirdly, make sure that you provide an environment that shows that you value education, which means you're going to ensure that when your child needs to study, they have a place, that they get a good breakfast, that they go to bed on time, you turn off that internet in the night, you don't go sleep and leave them up, you know, and so you show through your actions the value you have for education. And of course, celebrate their achievements. You know, when they're honored, participate in the honor roll assembly and then celebrate those small wins. And we believe if you do that, your child will definitely succeed.
You must be proud of Eva Hilton. They had an award ceremony. Look like the whole school, every parent turned out and showed up. And that school always seemed to have very good support, parental involvement. And it shows because the kids end up doing well and excelling.
Yeah.
I can't say it enough. Parental involvement is key in your child's life. It is not good enough to just make the child. Let's pause. It is not good enough to just make the child. And Royston walks in the room at the same time. It is important for you to understand that beyond making the child, you have to nurture the child. You have to develop the child. You're responsible for educating the child. They will learn in school the educational tools. You have to reinforce it at home. You can't expect your child to be a genius and you don't spend no time making sure they spend time developing school. It is important. I know sometimes parents get tired because you have a long day and you have so much other things going on, but nothing should trump the development of your child.
Education is not, you know, sometimes we look at education as consumption education. Education is an investment. That's how we need to see education. It is an investment, and for the parent, you're investing in your child's future. And I like to say to parents sometimes, listen, if you don't ensure that your child gets an education, you'll be taking care of them when they're 50.
That's right.
You want them to be able to take care of themselves, and you want them to be able to contribute positively to national development.
Correct.
But if you don't ensure they get an education, you will be taking care of them in their 50s, and they should really be taking care of you when they are 50 years old.
I'm going to take a break right here. When I come back, I want to talk about, are we graduating dummies? I know that's cold, but are we graduating people who are literally able to go to the next level, or are we just socially promoting people? And this national average we focus on, really, what's the point of going to school if you come out and can't write your name properly? We're going to talk about that. We're watching the one now. We're back after this. Stay close.
Fashion was something that I've always loved. I always, as a child, loved to see women just impeccably dressed. But my thing was drawing the looks and mixing colors, and fashion was in my blood. I put my personality into my passion. Well, the fabric of hope was inspired by my father. My father had cancer, and I would go with him to treatments and seeing everybody just look despondent and dreary. And I was like, wow, like God, like, I'm only a fashion designer. Like, what can I do to assist these people? I know God had me to create it to inspire persons with cancer or any illness that there's hope. It's been in my heart for a couple of days to speak to the older women who may feel that I'm 40, what can I do? I'm 50, what can I do? And that's when the fire in us kicks in. So take that idea that God has given you and put it to use. This is where it all begins.
Empowered women empower women.
In 2023, over 9 million visitors came to the Bahamas, the region's leading tourism destination. That's why tourism is everyone's business.
Paradise is not only found in Nassau, but throughout our 16 island destinations.
That's why tourism is everyone's business.
Over 400,000 Bahamians depend on our tourism-driven economy.
That is why tourism is everyone's business.
It's the passing on of our traditions and our cultural heritage to the next generation.
That's why tourism is everyone's business.
Tourism is everyone's business.
From the straw we plant, to exploring our Bahama blues, to experiencing the greatest show on earth. No matter who you are, we all have a part to play in our tourism industry.
This is our country.
These are our islands.
This is our home.
That's why tourism
is everyone's business.
The internet isn't just for surfing. There's a sea of shoppers buying online, and you can connect with them on Tingsy. Tingsy is the SBDC's online storefront built for Bahamians. Take your business to the next level by selling to customers online, both at home and around the world. People want Bahamian things, and if you got things to sell, sell on Tingsy. Find out how you can connect with a sea of buyers by visiting tingsybahamas.com.
Welcome back to The Rundown. Of course, my guest tonight has been the Director of Education, and we have this final segment to talk about a couple of things that I want to get in there that are burning. Obviously, the first thing the public like to complain about is a national grade. Yeah. Point average is, over the national average is D. And then we look at kids coming out of school and whether they're really capable of being able to go in the workplace or go on to university. Are we still socially promoting people, or are we sure that the kids that graduate are actually kids who have attained the skills they need from a secondary education and are capable of going to the next level?
The goal of the ministry is to provide opportunities for children based on their interests, their capabilities, and their needs. And so for us, we don't call our children, those of us who are professionals and proficient, don't call our children dumb. We believe that we are practitioners. We experiment or identify which strategies work for a child. Now, the vast majority of our students, we say, find their way. We have increased the graduation rate this year by 6%. So we do believe that we are creating that 21st century graduate. We do know, though, that there are some of our students who we would say they develop a little bit later. And so you would find that after high school, they may not have received a Bahamas High School diploma, and so they we steer them towards BTVI so that they can learn a skill. And so you would find that some of them do much better because, okay, they've, you know, they are late bloomers. But for us, the goal is always to give them those opportunities so that wherever they're bent, whatever their I guess their passion is, that we provide those opportunities. We believe that the national D-average really, I don't know who even put that out there, simply because our children are diverse. You're comparing apples and oranges. You're not using empirical evidence. You know, if you take 5 subjects and I take 10, how can you can compare both of us and create an average. And so, you know, the system is flawed in that way. And so for us, we want to be able to say these students received these grades based on their bent, and then these students receive these micro-credentials or certifications based on their bent. And so, for example, some students may go the route of academia, university. Some students may go the route of technical schools, applied sciences. And we have engineers, we have tourism officers, we have persons in architecture who go the route of technical and vocational training. Are we saying that they are less than because they didn't go
correct
the other route? And so we want to put all of them at the table. Those who go to university, those who may go to a trade school or a polytechnic, and say to the Bahamian populace, each of those students in their right places deserve a seat at the table.
So if that is the case, why do we then benchmark applications and college entrances and jobs by saying you have to have 5 GCSEs and more, as if you don't obtain that, then you're not qualified for a job? Why do we put benchmark that? Because what you've said is all good, but if the society has not adopted that concept, then what's the point?
Well, we had a commission, the minister, Glennis Hannah Martin, sent a commission around the country. They met, they had 58 meetings with Bahamians across the country. And Bahamians have said to us, we need you to reform the Bahamas High School diploma.
Right.
And so we had to make the reformations. We had to expand access to those opportunities for those children. We look at Bahamians across this country. You have artists, you have doctors and lawyers, you have performance artists, you have persons who do fine art, you know, visual arts. And so we have this plethora of wonderful, talented people doing diverse things, and yet we want to place all of our children in one mold. You know, and as I remember as a student, I was never placed in a mold. I was a good physics student, but I was also a dancer. I played the trombone.
Wow.
And I also was an accounting student.
Wow.
You know, I became an accounting teacher. And so give students the opportunities and allow them, yes, they must have the foundation. They should have literacy and numeracy skills. But once they have those foundational skills, allow them to flourish wherever they are bent. And those innate abilities could come to the fore, and we could harness those abilities and allow them to flourish. Look at Buddy Hield with basketball. So student athletics, whether it's the arts or whether it's academics, we allow our children to flourish where they're bent. And that's why we're focusing on micro-learning that leads toward micro-credentials.
Our population is growing. Are we going to see any new schools anytime soon?
Well, right now we're focusing on the Polytechnic. We did open the Ragged Island all-age school that was not open from 2017.
Wow.
So those children were in the virtual space for a long time.
We have kids, and how many kids?
Right now, I think we have about 4 or 5. But I believe by the end of this school year, we will have more because they move from the island.
Moved, that's true, because there was no school.
Yes, but we sent 2 teachers there, and so we're excited about that. We also opened the McLean's town, East End in Grand Bahama, because of Hurricane Dorian. That was
no longer
destroyed.
To Freeport.
Yes, and so we're working now on Low Sound Primary. We're also working on Holmes Rock Junior High.
Isn't there a new school? Is that Holmes Rock?
Yeah.
The new school out in West Grand Bahama.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're completing that, and so we're excited about the opportunities that we're seeking to afford our children.
Do you expect Holmes Rock to be open by the next school year?
We're trying our best. That's as much as I can say. Last time I said yes, and then we had some.
What are the challenges? Is it staffing?
It's not staffing. We've identified staff, we've identified the furniture, but there are some things that were not completed. The campus is not completed.
It's not finished.
It's not finished. And so we're waiting for it to be completed. And once it's completed, students will have access to it.
You had an issue recently at CV Bethel Senior High School, teachers flat out. Has that been resolved? Tell us about that, Matt.
Yes, we did have, I think, 2 or 3 students who had a fight at CV Bethel, and as a result of that, we had some intervention by one of the teachers, and so the teacher and the child's parent, they would have met, resolved the issues, but the teachers also indicated that they wanted to see, a greater security in terms of, I think, at the rear of the school, and so they would have presented their grievances to the principal. She would have met with those teachers, as well as the shop steward, and they're working it out. CV Bethel is an excellent school. I remember, and I had to say to the Bahamian populace, this is a good school.
It is.
You're going to have children who do not know how to resolve conflicts, and that's why we provide training and opportunities for conflict resolution and communication and collaboration skills. But this is an excellent school. $6 million in scholarships,
Wow.
Athletics, the arts. They won Junior John Canoe last year, and so, give the staff there an opportunity to help our children learn to work together.
These kids are a product of us.
Yes, they are.
And so you can't say, the school is bad. They're your children.
Yeah. Schools are a microcosm of society.
Pretty much.
Yeah. And so we train them so that they're able to function in society. Yeah.
Are schools safe? Should parents be concerned about this, about safety in these schools?
Schools are very safe. In fact, if I'm to be honest, sometimes parents leave their children in school because they don't want them to be at home while they're working. They leave school, children in school sometimes until 6 p.m. at night. Schools are very safe. We have a lot of after-school programs, student enrichment programs that they can get involved in. Our teachers are there working with tutoring classes. We also have the SROs, our school resource officers. They've been a wonderful addition to our team. And so we're providing this holistic education for our children. Yeah.
How are relations with the unions?
I have a good, but I believe I have a good relationship. We connect on sometimes 6 times a day. I have a relationship because they're strategic partners with BUT, BECAWU, BEMU, and sometimes BPSU.
You got 4 unions.
Yes.
I'm here stressing over 2. You got 4.
Yes.
Lord have mercy.
But the idea, of course, is, we want to resolve issues because we have one goal in mind, and we keep that at the forefront of everything that we do, student achievement. And so whatever the barriers are, if there are issues, let's resolve the issues. Let's come to the table so that we create a win-win environment because we want to build our country. And so we meet with our stakeholders. They are strategic stakeholders. We consider them partners, and we want them to be at the table because we want for them to help us. Sometimes I would call a union exec and ask, do you have a teacher that I could use? And they would actually go into their chats and identify teachers who could support our effort.
That's what partnership is all about.
Yeah.
That is absolutely...
We don't agree all the time on everything, I might as well tell you.
Of course not.
But we're seeking to make it work.
As we get ready to close, I'm going to give you a wish list. If you had a wish list of 5 things that you could get anything you need in education, what would those 5 things be on your wish list?
5 things. Well, certainly funding. we need the funding. I would have an aide in every classroom. I would have academic success coaches for every school so that those students who have need, they would get the, I would have resources in terms of equipment because especially for technical and vocational training, it's very expensive, but we need the equipment, the resources. All of the curriculum materials that we need, I need them. And so I would also have curriculum supplies.
Yeah, because teachers talk about how expensive
all of the
it
software.
is to buy stuff.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a good, I think that's a doable list. I think we got to make sure we speak a little louder. I think I've been preaching for I don't know how long the fact that we have so many multi-million-dollar investors that come into this country daily, and I believe they ought to be funding and seeding into our programs for youth and development and being able to help fund some of the things that government can't provide.
Yeah.
They ought to be able to fund because they're going to be coming for the same pool in a matter of years to staff their projects, and so I believe they ought to be the ones donating and giving a part of what it is. All right, two things if you could change. Your wish, you didn't need any permission. You just could just change it with the education system. What would the two things be?
Well, you know, sometimes we have to make decisions on the fly. We have to be able to pivot when we need to. So if we could remove some of the bureaucracy,
yes.
You know, that's number one for me because we need to make decisions. And our children, I think John Hattie said it, you have 1 year to make an impact. So I can't wait a year to get the paperwork. I need to get it done now. You know, so definitely that. And for me, always ensuring that the most skilled people get the positions, not seniority, not years, but skills. Skills are the new currency.
Wow, that's some good stuff. Director, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much, and thank you for your service and the work that you're doing. We look forward to seeing education continue to transform. Thank you.
And thank you, so it was a wonderful time.
Good having you. Good having you. That does it for the rundown. Be sure to stay locked on the ZNS Network for the Bahamas tonight at 11. It's a final newscast in the country with the latest news and information with Royston Jones. He's in the building now, getting ready for the 11 o'clock news. That does it for all of us here at ZNS. I'm Clint Watson. Thanks so much for joining us. Good night.
Let's go. At Frame Studio, as soon as you enter the door, we showcase any individual that comes in there and make it feel like they are